treasure, fire, death. The red dragon is one that needs no real introduction. It's big, it's red, and its avarice is feared and respected across all of the Forgotten Realms. And on today's TPK or Bust, I'll dissect tactical abilities, any fun-related flavor, pure combat ferocity, and really determine once and for all if this Scarlet Scourge is the one and only legendary creature of myth, or just a total bust. With a reputation for destruction and a fiery temper easily as ignited as its breath attack, the Red Dragon has a steep reputation to keep for today's video. And speaking of that iconic breath attack, the Red Dragon engulfs its foes with 63 points of fire damage in a 60-foot cone. Now, this damage is less than the lightning breath of the Blue Dragon, and less than the fire breath of Gold, but generally speaking, it's still quite a good breath attack. 63 points at CR 17 is still pretty great, especially in a 60-foot cone. Its Wombo combo does deal a fair amount of damage, dealing 56 points of fire, slashing, and piercing mixed up together. Now, this is exactly the same damage as the Ghost Dragon, but the Red Dragon does lose out on any secondary effects that the Ghost Dragon does bring to the table. Its tail attack is really nothing special, it doesn't even knock people prone, so that's kinda buns. It has the 3 standard legendary actions, like all the chromatic dragons, of 1 detect, 1 tail attack, and 2 for a wing attack. Nothing really crazy there. Although it hasn't been very unique when compared to the other dragons, thanks 5th edition, I gotta say, even considering the CR being 17, the Red Dragon's only real offensive options are actually gonna come from the Game Master running it, and not really from any particular skill or ability. I would say that this dragon has one thing going for it thus far, and that is pure numerical damage. Uncontested, the Red Dragon does put out quite a bit of damage round by round, unless a person can get resistance to fire. In that instance, the damage is, well, subpar. Bad, even. And, I mean, let's be real with each other, fire is one of the most commonly resisted damage types. It is a huge detriment for this dragon, in a pretty common circumstance, if you ask me. Not to mention its temper, which is a bad problem for it, is a huge part on how much damage it will actually be able to deal. Being highly aggressive and willing to get up close and personal far more often can lead it into a sticky situation. Simply put, this means that if you can bait the dragon into your tank who has fire resistance, you're going to be way more likely to win that fight. Although high damage on a good day is one thing, an obvious weakness in its lack of variety leaves me wanting something more from the Red Dragon. I gotta say, an offensive score of 5.1 out of 10 could be a little over-generous, but hey, parties that don't come with fire immunity or resistances are really gonna regret it. Now, onward to the skill segment, and the Red Dragon stats are looking like 27 Strength, 10 Dexterity, 25 Constitution, 16 Intelligence, 13 Wisdom, and 21 Charisma. Now, I do think a conversation about how much strength 27 Strength actually is would be appropriate, but not for this kind of video. I think that's a full discussion in 5th edition, less than a comparison on dragons. But in something like this, I just know that 27 Strength is crazy, but compared to its brothers and sisters, it is the strongest for sure, but not by that much comparatively. Because the Red Dragon actually shares many of its strongest stats with other dragons like the Gold or the Ghost Dragon, but it completely falls behind on dump stats like Dexterity and Wisdom. It's also worth pointing out that regardless of the comparisons to other dragons, having a 16 Intelligence and a 21 Charisma makes the dragon very, very good at getting what it wants before it needs to resort to violence. It makes the dragon easily able to take tithes or slaves from neighboring areas before it needs to burn it to cinders. And if push comes to shove, its lair actions definitely help level the playing field on tough-to-kill adventurers. Its first lair action makes a tremor that shakes the ground around it. Within a 60-foot radius around the dragon, each other creature makes a DC 15 Dex save or is knocked prone. This ability in particular is its strongest lair action in my eyes, knocking people prone. Wonderful. Its second layer action makes magma erupt from a point on the ground the dragon can see within 120 feet of it. It creates a 20-foot high, 5-foot wide radius geyser. Each creature in the geyser's area must make a DC 15 dex save or take 21 fire damage on a fail or half on a success. Now this is amazing because once again, fire damage is kind of this thing's deal, and it dealing extra damage every single turn, always great. Not gonna complain about that. And the height on this is actually very nice. Its final layer action makes volcanic gases form in a cloud in a 20-foot radius sphere centered on a point the dragon can see within 120 feet of it. It lasts for a while, and each creature that starts its turn in the cloud must make a Constitution saving throw or be poisoned until the end of its turn. While poisoned this way, the creature is incapacitated. Now, as powerful as this ability is, the saving throw is so ridiculously low, I can't even see this being accurate on a frail old wizard. I mean, come on, it's tied to Constitution and it's a 13 on a CR 17 creature? This is not going to land on anybody anytime soon. Although, to be fair, the one thing that the Red Dragon does have over the Gold Dragon is that it gets 3-layer actions instead of the Gold Dragon's measly 2. Its frightful presence is just fine. It's literally on par with the other Chromantic Dragons, and it falls behind on the saving throw DC compared to Gold. And with no spells to speak of, it's only 2 skill proficiencies in Stealth and Perception, and nothing else that really jumps out to me on the official stat sheet. I'm starting to really believe that the Red Dragon's reputation could simply be nothing more than hot air. I mean, I do like the climbing speed. It's a bit of a fun way for the dragon to play off of its layers' high ceilings, steep cliffs, walls, and allows it to have other fun spots for ambush, retreat, or tactical perching. Alongside its standard dragon movements like Flight 80 and Walk 40, the Red Dragon can really navigate its lair well. And I'm going to withhold my observations on its other combat tactics, anger issues and otherwise spicy personality, in the flavor and defense segments later. But for the moment, its temperament in particular, and how easy it is to get on the Red Dragon's Burn It to a Crisp VIP list, makes the dragon probably the most dangerous in terms of lethality. While other dragons might play with their prey a bit more, I can easily imagine the Red Dragon going for the kill immediately and gloating afterwards. However, it's for the same reason a Red Dragon is so dangerous that it can also be at its weakest. But for now, skills as they stand are looking super duper average. The Red Dragon's ability to climb and breathe fire are great boons, but its otherwise straightforward approach to dealing damage isn't going to catch an even unprepared party off guard anytime soon. Now, with all that covered, I think the only real skill left to mention is actually the dragon's immunity to fire. Now, although not always a guarantee, a Red Dragon's lair having geothermal activity is actually its second choice, to it being super duper high up with a great view. But if a Red Dragon managed to snag a volcano with plenty of magma chambers and frequent activity, then its fire immunity has far more handy resources than at first glance. It could swim in lava if push comes to shove. It could shovel lava with a quick tail slap onto its enemies, or just throw a person into the stuff if it's funny enough. Lava, if available, means so much more to the combat than just avoiding the stuff until the fight is over. I have to say, the dragon's habit of keeping a contingency plan for every possible scenario it can brew up makes it more and more likely to use all of the resources at its disposal to keep intruders nice and dead. Although I do have a deep respect for resourcefulness, the information has led me to determine that the Red Dragon skills are a very casual 5.8 out of 10. Like, its pure damage potential is a little higher than many other dragons, but I just can't imagine more than just some damage here and dragon stuff there. And its saving throw DCs on important condition afflictions being so low, I really can't see much accuracy on them for when it matters most. Although its draconic defenses are an interesting conversation, since you would actually assume something this large, aggressive, and outright evil wouldn't put much stock into defenses, but you might be wrong. It has a habit of forming battle plans and making practical ploys against any potential people it may encounter, making this rating far more interesting off the bat. First and foremost, its HP pool of 256 and an AC of 19 finally matches up with the Gold Dragon, giving it one very important tie in general bulk. Now, its 3 legendary resistances, fire immunity, and some handy dragon saving throw bonuses do keep it in the average dragon department, which is not a bad thing here. But I think the main focus for defenses should be its lair, its personality, and its temper. To me, a red dragon is at its most dangerous and well defended when it's sulking inside of its own lair, when it stays quiet, when it plots and bides its time, when it collects treasure on its own time, and more importantly, on its own terms. This is when a red dragon is the hardest to kill. It's the most lethal it could be, and it makes the rating so frustrating to think about, because the other 50% of the time it's not doing this, it is being a mindless, rampaging, fire-breathing monster of wrath. Any slight against its reputation, a single coin out of place, a misspoken compliment, any simple insult can be the spark that ignites a red dragon's greatest weakness, its anger. All of its careful planning, its fortifications in the lair, and its already mild wisdom score is thrown out of the window as it aims to annihilate any creature who has wronged it, and any creature who has aided the person that has wronged it. This, in turn, makes it easier and easier to track, because the more angry it gets, the more it takes risks and overexerts its power. And finally, after so many people have been lit on fire, it exposes itself, and it is killed for its hubris. I would love nothing more than to cop out here and give the red dragon a 5 out of 10 for defense. But it's not even that simple, because you see, in terms of damage prevention, the dragon has a few things going for it. First and foremost is its climbing, its flight, its damage potential, its fire immunity, and even tactical plans against invaders and traps. But its greatest weapon, its legendary fire breath, well, it's not its first option in combat. Or its second. Or even its third. Well, you see, the red dragon isn't just wrath incarnate, it's also greed given form. And that greed really would prefer not to turn those fancy gold pieces and shiny treasures adventurers bring to the combat into shiny golden ashes. Like, imagine that for a moment. Not incinerating a party that has been sent here to kill you outright because you want their loot more. Like, man, taking far more risks because you're greedy and being more reckless is so thematic, but so dumb. You can't fault me for trying. I tried to play fair here, but for defenses, the red dragon is getting a very disappointing 3.4 out of 10. And mostly it's because its temper, its awesome layer defenses, its greed and arrogance makes the dragon get slain in most fairy tales for a reason. And when talking about its greed and arrogance, the flavor of the red dragon is simply divine. I mean, sure, it has mechanical problems, but the red dragon has some of the most rich, diverse, and well-laid history of all the other 5th edition dragons. I mean, come on, it's the dragon, people. You can imagine what I am saying when I say fire-breathing lizard, people. You see red, horns, dragon, fire. You see the red dragon. It is the most iconic of the dragons, and that happens to be its strength, its power, its shape, and its ability to mold and burn the world around it. Compared to the other dragon's stats, abilities, philosophies, and mechanical skills, the red dragon isn't that special. But that's not why it's cool. It's cool because it's the red dragon. It rides a motorcycle. It has the leathers. It has the fire. It is the dragon of legend. When you imagine a greedy, evil, fire-spewing, flying lizard of legend that evokes a primal fear and those around it for miles and miles, this is the image that comes to mind. A force of nature that I cannot be more honored to talk about in this kind of video series. Sure, I'm being a little biased here in saying that the red dragon is flavorful for the sake of being the coolest of all the dragons, but I, for one, love their minds, the way they run through possibilities and set up encounters and combat plans in case one scenario or another catches them unaware. The way their nature of hating silver dragons and losing because of the way silver dragons use the power of friendship when they want to run the 1v1s. Like their cowardice when they have something else they have to do when a gold dragon is around is hilarious to me. The way that the red dragon loves gold more than its life. Oh, there's so much about this dragon that is more than just it's good at this, it's bad at that. It's so iconic, and to be frank with you, I may not see much in the ways that it should stand out on the physical sheet, but its entire life story makes me believe the red dragon has way more to offer you as a person who enjoys D&D, that it will always earn a 10 out of 10 for flavor, no matter what timeline I happen to be in. I don't give a hoot or a holler about its flaws. I love everything about the red dragon, and for that and that alone, it deserves nothing more than a 10 out of 10. And with fangirling out of the way, and with all the information covered, I gotta say, as much as I enjoy the red dragon, it's really just an okay dragon. Like, its final rating lands the red dragon firmly in the upper middle of the pack, a grand total of 6.1 out of 10. It's not so impressive on paper, but in practice, I wholeheartedly believe the red dragon will always be a terrifying opponent. And if you enjoy listening to me rant about the dragons of 5th edition, or just like hearing my voice, a like and subscribe does wonders to keep these videos flowing. Expect a blue hue dragon like no other in the next video, and have yourself a great day. Hey everyone, thanks for watching. Sorry about my voice being different. I don't know if that's a good thing. It sounded really good in the recording, but I'm getting over being sick for about a week. I lost my voice like thrice already, so I felt good enough to record and get some work done. So hopefully you enjoyed it, and I'll see you around and have a good time. And yeah, bye.